Good morning, everybody. I see that there are a couple of people joining us already, jumping on. Thank you all for being patient while we got ourselves together today and got ready to do this live. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but we're swimming right through it, which is really pretty good considering that Mercury is retrograde. So, thank you so much for being here. As you know, as above, so below. When I look to the stars with astrology, when I watch the way the planets move across the backdrop of the constellations, I am looking for hints and clues and information that I might glean about what is impacting me here on Earth in my life and how I might go about sort of navigating my life with more peace and success and prosperity in light of the current vibrations. So that's what it's all about for me, and I'm really happy that y'all are on this journey with me. I'm here today with my bestie out west. What do we say? Her Majesty Jill Conaway, cosmic unicorn of love and doom. And we are here today to preview the astrology for the next week. That'll be the 17th through the 23rd of this month. And at the end of this video, we're also going to do a live tarot card reading to talk about sort of what's departing from us and what's coming in. So what can we let go of and what can we sort of open our arms to and embrace, hopefully, hopefully. Because there's a lot going on in the world and some of it's a little bit hard to embrace. I'm sure some of you would agree. So, this is my best friend. Her name is Jill Conaway. I've known her for 35, 40 years. We've known each other a long time. We went to school together. And, Jill is, she's one of my favorite people, but the reason I asked her to be here today is that she does have a very, she's got a very intuitive mind and she's got her own way of looking at things and expressing things in the world that I find really, really helpful sometimes, and I find really eloquent and inspiring sometimes. And so I wanted to share that with you. No pressure, Jill.
Hi,
Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Astro Insights.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. I feel very blessed and grateful that you invited me to be on your show today.
Yes. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy to see your face so early in the morning. Y'all, it is truly good friendship and love that Jill is here this early on a Sunday because, well, it's 10 o'clock my time. It is actually 8 o'clock her time. So thank you so much for getting up early on a Sunday to be with us. And what's going on in the world? What have you noticed about the past week? Jill, what's really heavy on your mind this week?
Oof. The past week I've been taking a lot of deep breaths before communicating with people. I've been feeling a lot of, I think the Mercury retrograde, for whatever reason, it hits me a few days before Mercury actually goes into retrograde. I've noticed that they're like, oh, Mercury's going to go into retrograde. I'm like, for me, it's already in retrograde, girl, because I have had to take deep breaths. I had several projects that I was trying to, get done, and there were delay after delay after delay, and I would find myself getting really irritated and frustrated and then have to do the backspace, backspace, backspace. I worked
Taking a
from my
deep breath while I
electric.
backspace through all the things I just said.
Yeah, so a lot of deep breaths to, keep myself from, popping off at the mouth when I oughtn't. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
Just feeling that very deeply.
Well, and that makes total sense. And I've had a little bit of a struggle myself with it. Mercury being retrograde in Aries, Venus is also retrograde in Aries. They're right there by each other. So there's a couple of things that are just sort of like moving against our grain as we're trying to make progress, because we're always trying to make progress, right? And especially in Aries, that just brings about sort of a fiery temperament, some impatience, a little bit of like, no, I want to go, but let's get started, but let's go, So I need what I need to get started and go. So yeah, I've had a couple of moments, especially out in traffic, and Mercury always brings me back to traffic. I've had a couple of experiences out in traffic where I really just want to flip someone the bird or race somebody down the road because people are acting aggravating out there. And I don't, Missouri, you don't need you don't even need to register to carry a gun. So I'm really careful in traffic. I don't want to flip off the wrong person, but uh, definitely it's been a little bit extra frustrating. So it's good to know that you're feeling that too. I'm sure that other people are feeling that as well. That's one of the things I love about studying astrology is that when Mercury is retrograde, it's retrograde for all of us. We're all kind of going through that, And so in a way, I kind of can compare my experience to the experience other people are having and just saying, okay, we're all struggling a little bit. I'm going to back off. So in the past week, I want to take a look at in the past week, including, in addition to Mercury going retrograde, which happened on Friday, we had that lunar eclipse and full moon in Virgo on Thursday. How was Thursday treating you? About the same?
About the same. I think Thursday things kind of started to like move a little bit more for me.
Mm-hmm.
But slower than I would have liked. It was kind of like, okay, well, at least we're getting a little bit of movement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've really been putting a lot of my irritation and frustration into my art. And like I create digital collage, and you can
Mm-hmm.
definitely see the difference in the past week or so in how my art has sort of been a lot darker, a lot more irritated, or expressing my irritation with things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
It might be useful to know also that, Mars was retrograde for a while, and then it was sitting there at like 17 degrees Cancer for 2 or 3 weeks, and it just started going forward again. And I felt that sense of initiative come into just like, okay, even if Mercury is retrograde, even if I'm having trouble making the progress I want to make, at least we have forward motion. Like, all right, I'll take what I can get.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and we went outside, Jennifer and I went outside to take a look at that lunar eclipse. I don't know if you saw it, but we wanted to go watch the eclipse happen, but what happened was we got outside just as the eclipse was about complete, which was kind of fortunate. We just got out there and there was a little sliver of white moon at the top and the rest of it was just red. It was pretty spooky looking.
Yeah, we were having a storm, so we couldn't
Uh-huh.
see anything. It was raining and sort of snowing, and you know, so we stayed inside where it was warm and
Yeah,
cozy. But I felt
yeah,
it. I always feel it.
yeah. Full moon, it can bring pretty strong vibes, and especially like in Virgo. Virgo makes me feel so meticulous. It makes me feel so like I've got to, the kind of cleaning where you've got to like take everything out and dust it all off and put everything back in, you know.
Yeah.
So, um, so that happened last week. Mercury was conjunct to Venus last week, so that was a lot about saying what's on our mind, and it was Mercury conjunct to Venus when it was retrograde before Mercury went retrograde. That's a lot of words to say, but basically it was really about like talking about what's on our mind, about our relationships and about our values, like really bringing it up. And with both of them being in Aries, like really bringing it up in like sort of bold or just forthright ways. So I can see you sort of like actually tap a tap a tap tap tap.
Delete, delete, delete.
Delete, 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 delete. Back it up. Like I don't want to talk like this to this person, but I really do, but I really don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And then the sun was conjunct Saturn on Wednesday last week too. So that was really bringing a lot of really serious matters to mind. And there are just serious things going on in the world. There's a lot of like material destruction. There's a lot of material, like things dissolving, which is very much a Saturn and Pisces kind of thing. Things that we thought would always be the way they are just are not that way anymore. And it's all kind of a wash at this time, and we don't really know what form it's going to take in the future. So I really see the spotlight on that, and man, does it weigh heavy on my heart, the things that are going on in the world. I woke up this morning to find out, and this is, I hate to say it's kind of the least of our problems, but like 38 people died in storms in the US last night. And that's just a few hundred miles away from me. So it was a little bit shocking to wake up to that. But that's just one example of just the level of sort of destruction and mayhem that we've been facing lately. So we are in the middle of the eclipse season, and that is part of eclipse season, right? Because eclipse means to leave. It means, things are departing from us. It means something is going to change. And I tell you, if you got out and saw that moon, I can see why in ancient times they would have been like, "Oh, this is bad," because it literally turns red. It looks like it almost looks like it could be dripping red. There's like this red glow around it. It's really wild to see. I would be like, I wonder what's going to happen to the king. Like what does this portend for us? So I can see how people would see that as a bad omen, so to speak. And I don't
There's
really
a
think of it that
moon on the
way. Huh?
There's a
Say that
bad
again.
moon on the rise.
There's a bad moon on the rise. A bad Virgo full moon. Right. Uh, yes. So, after that full moon, now we come into this week. We are in the middle of eclipse season. Chaos and change are sort of the order of the day for these 2 weeks. It's 4 weeks out of the year, but it's 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall. And you know, it's just it's a time. To me, it feels like a time to sort of like pull back and observe what is happening and save your actions, save your energy, save your effort for that moment when you really need to make your input, when you really need to show up and do something. And I feel the urge of people. I've been talking to people. I feel the urge of people to get out and do something. Like, we see things in the news. We see things, it going on around us, and it's like, is this the thing? Is this the thing that makes me rise up and jump out and go take a pitchfork to the Capitol? Is this, is this the thing? Is this the moment where I'm supposed to get out and do this thing? And I think that we'll know when our moment arises.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been up here in the foothills, in the forest, living my best hermit life for a few years now. And, since January, I have had to start really thinking about community and building community and like figuring out what I'm going to do, what is my place in, the resistance, if you will.
Yeah.
And so, I've had to start kind of really pushing myself out of my comfort zone and like meeting other people in the area who are like minded, meeting them face to face when I've never talked to them before. And so there is this feeling of like I'm working on building something. I'm working on building up to like what my purpose at this point in life is. So that really rings true for me because it's kind of like this slow build of like, okay, grandma can't
Mhm.
go out there and with a pitchfork at the Capitol anymore. Like those days are way behind me. So I'm just I'm looking to the stars to tell me like, okay, this is your place, this is your lane, get in it and do it.
Right, absolutely. Give me a clue so I can take an action. Although I did hear you say somebody was like, "We'll get you a scooter. We need you down there anyway." We could just sort of like tape the pitchfork to the scooter.
Right, give me a resist bumper sticker to put on it. I can just see it. It'll be Berkeley of me.
Yes, exactly. Keep your laws off of my body. Pitchfork.
Uh,
So coming into this week, that's where we stand. We've got Mercury and Venus retrograde in Aries, Mars which rules Aries is in Cancer. It is now moving forward, but it's still not Mars's best placement. It's like, oh, I want to go forward, and Cancer is like, but we go sideways. So it can be one of those things where if you want to make progress, you have to sort of make lateral moves before you make forward moves, and that's really the order of the day, to be really patient, even if you're feeling impatient, to measure your actions before you take them. We enter the week with the moon in Scorpio. So I think this is really appropriate because I have my Scorpio bestie here. And, I always talk about the moon in Scorpio in terms of like, this is a time to get internal and sort of be honest with ourselves and, do that personal inner clearing so that we can make room for more good things to come in. But I wonder what your perspective is on a Scorpio moon.
Well, that's the thing for me. Being a Scorpio, I feel like that's my mode most of the time is I'm introspection and digging deep into that, shadow work. That's just a day-to-day process for me. Um, but I do definitely feel that there's more emotions on the surface for me during this time, if you can believe it. With the Pisces moon and the Scorpio sun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to be real quiet during these times because I can be a hot mess if I don't like really, you know.
Rein in the emotional expression. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. I experienced that too. Not having any Scorpio or Pisces placements, but being Cancer rising, I kind of feel everything, and I don't think I feel everything as strongly as you do, or some of my more watery counterparts. But definitely, it's just been a lot to process, and it's like we're processing things mentally that don't really make sense to us. The way things are going in the world don't really make sense to us right now. And then there's emotions that come along with that, and it's a lot to try to figure out what's happening. A lot of my emotion is just confusion. A lot of my emotion is just like, what the heck is going on now? Like,
Yeah, and as an empath and an intuitive, sometimes I'm trying to figure out like what parts of these things are mine and what am I picking up from other people
mhm,
extra
yeah,
hard to like, and then I'm trying to sort it out. Like, okay, hmm, okay, that was mine. I don't know whose that is, but I don't need to be feeling that. But
right.
thanks, sharing.
No, that's not how I think I feel about that. So why am I feeling this right yeah, so we enter the week with that moon in Scorpio, and it is like for everyone personally, it's a little bit more of a deep dive on the inside. It's a little bit more of like checking in with ourselves and making sure we're coming to the world as authentically as possible, right, from the heart, in a way that's being as real as possible. Because one thing I know and like about Scorpios is that they really try to be real. They don't have a lot of masks to put on for you. Uh, or hex to give about putting him on a mask for you. So, the lack of filters and just the desire to say what's true and real in the moment. Like if you're feeling that over the next couple of days, you wouldn't be alone. And this is a time for that, for just getting introspective with ourselves. And then as we get further on into the week, Wednesday, the moon moves on into Sagittarius. And I love the transition from moon in Scorpio to moon in Sagittarius, because moon in Scorpio is like that, and moon in Sagittarius is like that, So it's like first you get really still and introspective, and then you take what you got there and you're like, hey world, like I gotta go do something with this, right? It's almost like what you find there moves you to act in some way, and to get a little adventurous even. So I really appreciate that about that shift, like going from that really um, still water vibe, right? Because Scorpio is a still water vibe into that active fire vibe. It's exciting. I think it's
Yeah.
exciting.
We can expect to see a lot of freak flags flying high. Say that 3 times
Yeah,
fast.
Yeah, especially with the way it's been windy out where I am. My hair is all freak flagging all over the place. It's a good thing I don't use hairspray because it wouldn't work anyway. Um, so on Wednesday, the sun makes a conjunction to Neptune. And I want to say that on Saturday, the sun's going to make a conjunction to Venus. So the sun and Neptune and Venus are all very close to one another. Neptune's on the Pisces side of that line. Venus is on the Aries side of that line. The sun is making that transition from water to fire. Do I say fire? Yeah, Venus is on the fiery side of that line. So the sun is going to make that transition from water to fire. And in the meantime, it's going to conjunct Neptune, which is our greater benefic, and conjunct Venus, which is our lower benefic. Okay, so it's good for us. It's positive. It's a spotlight on things. But Neptune is all about the dream and the illusion, what we imagine, what we idealize. And idealization is good. Imagination is good. Of course, we need our imaginations to progress in the way that we like to, but it can lead to illusion. We can be, harboring some illusions that we made up for ourselves, or, we can be subscribing to some illusions that somebody else made up for us. That seems to be rampant in the world now with Neptune at the most powerful degree of Pisces. That confusion and illusion are really strong. And I think on Wednesday with the sun conjunct Neptune, it's a spotlight on the illusion. So it's almost like we're going to see through something either collectively or individually in our lives. We're going to kind of, the fog clears for a moment, or the fog clears a little and you can see what is in front of you, even if it's not completely clear, and you can go, oh, I see the truth about this situation now. So that is going to be interesting, I think. What do you think we might wake up to? Because it's very much a waking up vibe to me.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I think at least half the country's been living in a fog for quite a while now. So maybe if we're lucky, that fog will lift and people will wake up and, see
Yeah.
that the emperor has no clothes. I mean,
Yeah. I
that's
don't
one
know
thing.
how much. Say that again.
I said that's one thing on my mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. I keep hoping, like, I don't know how it could be more obvious that, we're trying to transition to some sort of fascist oligarchy right now. And there are those of us who are not going to fare well in the fascist oligarchy, friends. And we got to think about the fascist oligarchy doesn't think about the least of these. They just get rid of them. They just push them out. So uh, we got to stand up for ourselves at this time for sure. And I really think more people are waking up. And I don't know if that's hopeful and wishful thinking on my part, but I really think more people are coming around and just, really noticing that this isn't right. Right. Like I see people out there at the protests with big signs that say, this isn't normal. And it's not. This is not normal. This is not business as usual. And not that we always love business as usual, but at least we know how it works. And we don't know how this works. Again, everything is a wash and we can't really see what kind of form it's going to take.
Right.
So
Yeah. No,
maybe go ahead.
sorry.
Okay.
I spend most of my time trying to walk a line between realist and hopeful, like
Yes. Yeah.
balance. And, sometimes I tilt one way and sometimes I tilt the other, but I try
Uh,
to stay positive but realistic.
yes. Yes. We're both from Missouri, and it's a very Missouri thing to say realistic. It's very like, yeah, get real. She's from Missouri. You'll have to show her.
Exactly. Show me.
So coming up after Wednesday on Thursday, we have the spring equinox. Yay! The sun moves into Aries like 4 in the morning Central Standard Time. So very early on Thursday. The moon will be in Sagittarius and the sun will be in Aries. So like we start out the week with the sun and moon and water signs, and then we end up the week with the sun and moon and fire signs. And that is indicative of the whole year that we're having. We're going to be shifting out of Pisces and into Aries, back into Pisces, back into Aries with different planets. And so I really want people to notice like how this week goes for you, because having the sun make that shift really makes things apparent, right? Like it shines the spotlight, it opens our eyes, makes us sort of conscious of what that shift is when we're coming out of Pisces dreamland, imagination, idealization, spirituality, even, and into Aries, which is just like, okay, what are we going to do? Gotta go, gotta make progress. Let's get started. So we have this little space here where it's like, okay, a little gentle shaking. And then the sun conjunct Neptune is like, spotlight, we can see this illusion, And then the very next day, it's like, okay, let's get going. It's time to go. And the sun and the moon are both in fire signs. And I just love the spring equinox. Of course, it's close to my birthday, so I love the springtime. The flowers are already blooming. It makes me so happy. I feel my body and my consciousness waking up after the long winter. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably one of the few witches out there that prefers the fall and the winter time and feels well, on one hand I feel a sense of hopefulness, and the spring brings that like sort of like refreshing, like things are blooming. There's also this, for me, a tinge of sadness because I really love the dark. I love the deep dark of winter. And that speaks a lot about my Scorpio soul. I love it when it's dark and I can stay home, but I always inevitably, get on board with spring, and it's a good time to start, redoing my altar and bringing in the little pink rose quartz bunnies and all the different little things that, bringing some more
Yeah.
color to my usually dark Jill cave.
Yeah.
I can appreciate a good spring equinox.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna pick some daffodils and put them in a vase so I can see them. And I do appreciate the fall and winter months, and if anything, because it makes the spring feel so much better to me. But I'm glad that you love them. I think somebody's got to love them, but I get a little like dull, get dull and tired. I think I'm solar powered, so when the sun's not really showing itself very much, or it's just too cold to go out there, I'm just like, in my basement, in my recliner, like nobody talk to me until the flowers are blooming. So yay, spring equinox, here we go. We are entering the new year. This is the beginning of the seasonal year, actually. It's funny because, when we talk about the calendar year, we've got this one day that is New Year's Eve, and like the next day it's the new year. And then on the seasonal calendar, it's more like, oh, we celebrate the end of the year between Samhain and winter solstice. And then we celebrate the beginning of the year between, like Imbolc and spring equinox. It's just sort of like, yeah, we got to ease out of it. And then we have that time for like real quietude and introspection, and then we can ease back into it. So I like that too. It's like we got to take a little rest.
Yeah.
And then coming up on Friday, the Venus, which is retrograde, is going to be sextile to the Pluto, which is a cooperative conversation that these two are having. So Venus is about our values. She's retrograde in Aries, so she's probably feeling a little feisty and restless about things, like where she's not getting what she wants, or where she doesn't feel like there's balance in a relationship, or when she doesn't feel like her values are understood, right? And then you've got Pluto in Aquarius, newly in Aquarius, going, okay, well, we're feeling a little rebellious overall. There are some power plays to be made here. What do you want to do? Like, how can you express this in ways that, might sort of transform the relationship going forward? I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, it feels like a time, a lot of the Dharma teachers that I follow keep talking about how destruction is necessary for birth. And I guess this is kind of what I've been thinking about in terms of, the spring equinox, and then, what you're mentioning now. It's like, what's possible is like
Yeah,
a big for me, is like what's possible, what what good can we make? What can we rebuild when things are falling apart? Um,
right.
yeah.
Where can we get our values and our needs and desires met
Mhm.
when everything is so sort of unreliable right now, you know?
Exactly.
And whether that means like I can't eat eggs because they're too expensive, or like I'm not getting along with the people that I work with. My brother is having a little struggle with that right now. Um, it's just sort of like I value having peace in my workplace. I value having peace in my home. I value, like having everything I need to feel secure at home and in my life. So, where we're not getting that met right now, Pluto's really sort of encouraging us to, I think, empower ourselves to be like, okay, well, how am I going to go about getting that then? Especially with Venus and Aries, because Aries is not a comfortable place for Venus, but being a Venus in Aries, I know that it just makes people more bold about getting what they want. Like a lot of people are a little bit afraid to ask for what they want. Sometimes I'm a little afraid to ask for what I want, but Venus in Aries can ask for what it wants. It can say, "This is what I like. Can you bring it to me?" So
Yeah.
um, hopefully we can feel somewhat empowered to even be a little rebellious, because Pluto is in Aquarius. This is going to be 20 years of different kinds of rebellion, like on the collective level and on the personal level. We're gonna shift. We're gonna change a lot of things. Like, of course, I'm horrified to see the way things are changing right now, because it looks like everything is falling apart. But I think that a lot of us have longed for some change for a long time, and we're going to have to see what we can make of what falls out of this destruction.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And be hopeful while we're doing it, because, we get to choose what we build. We get to choose ultimately what we make of things, on both on a individual level and on a collective level, and I
Mhm.
think that, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, no, I agree with you. I think that what we have, what we experience, is really, a lot of it is a choice. The parts that I didn't choose, at least I have a choice as to how I'm going to respond to it. So, um, you know, we gotta be. Here's where that moon in Scorpio comes in handy. Like, you see what's happening, you're like, okay, well, how am I going to be about it? How am I going to respond to it? We gotta, make sure that what we're doing is aligned with our values and authentic to who we are and what we stand for.
Yeah.
I was just noticing in the picture the way the ceilings match up. It looks like a little.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's cute. Okay, so that's the spring equinox. We started with Mercury conjunct Neptune, then we have the spring equinox, and we have Venus and Pluto doing this uh, reevaluation of values and hopefully empowering ourselves to get what we want in different ways. And then coming up on Saturday, the sun makes its conjunction to Venus. So that's the sun conjuncting Venus in Aries. It's really gonna emphasize those Venus retrograde in Aries things. If you're a very Venusian person, if you're a very relationship oriented person, things might get a little prickly. Things might get a little hot. uh, you know, and that can be a positive or a negative. Conjunctions are just intense, and it's really kind of what you choose to make of it. So, if you have a partner in your life that you have been uh, at odds with, if you have a partner in your life, whether this is romantic or workplace or friendships, whatever, if you have a partner in your life that you have been having conflict with, today would be a day when that conflict might really get like turned on. It might really come under the spotlight. So pay attention to that and remember who you are authentically in your heart. And let's try not to, pop off on people that we love too much.
Space, backspace, backspace.
Backspace, 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 backspace. Say what you want to say, then delete it and say it a better way. Because, like, one thing I like to remind people of is that, like, honesty doesn't require brutality. When I was growing up, like, it was considered a valuable thing to be brutally honest about something. But really, being brutally honest means that your intention is to be brutal with somebody. And we can be really honest with somebody while coming to them with compassion, with kindness, with friendship, and, basically say the same kind of thing without, cussing somebody out or making somebody feel like a piece of crap, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm talking about with that Venus, that Sun conjunct Venus on Saturday. If we do have to have the discussion, if we are in the middle of the conflict, just remember, as aggravated as you're feeling is as aggravated as the other person is feeling. And really, Nadia likes to say, as high as you can go is as low as you can go. So, as good as things can get in that relationship, that's how bad things can get too. And we just want to kind of strike a middle ground so that we're not stretching out those those boundaries and letting it get like really low.
Hashtag right speech.
Hashtag right speech. Yes, yes. We used to say right speech, damn it. For real. Okay, so that's Saturday. And then Sunday, the sun does what Venus did and makes a sextile to Pluto, another cooperative conversation with Pluto, the power player, sun in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius. So, we've got this fiery stuff going on, this urge to get started, this this sort of heating up and quickening of action, and it's in a cooperative zone with this idea that we do have the power to make change, and that rebelliousness is sometimes good and effective for us. And I have an Aquarius moon, so I'm a rebellious heart anyway. And I like to lean into that, especially when now that Pluto's in Aquarius and things are going on in Aquarius, I'm like, yay, rebellion. I think Jill and I have both been rebelling in our own ways all of our lives.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're not alone in that. The world can be kind of tough for the tenderhearted like you and me. So we have to find ways to live out our opposition to the things that we, to the things that bother us, to the things that don't inspire us or make us feel like we're being lifted up. And then that is the end of the week. And we end the week with the moon in Capricorn. So we went from Scorpio, that deep insight, into Sagittarius. Let's have an adventure. And then back into Capricorn, like we've been at playtime. Now it's time to get down to business. We want mountains to climb. We want problems to solve. We're ready to get in there and take action. And especially with the sun and Venus and Mercury, even though they're retrograde, all in Aries right now, that action principle is really strong. So I expect at the end of the week to really feel like there's something that we can do, and we're going to get to work on it, or at least, start making the plan. My precarious situation here has to be reset. Okay. So that is the whole week. And, happy spring, everyone. Mercury and Venus are still retrograde all through the week in Aries. So yes, those combustible vibes are there. And the sun moves into Aries. And then I also want to say that we're right in the middle of eclipse season. That solar eclipse comes up next Saturday on the 29th. So in eclipse season, things are just a little more wobbly and bumpy. It's a little more of a wild time. We notice things slipping away from us, leaving, changing. So, be aware of that. Be aware that things are changing very quickly right now, and do your best to be like I try to advise people to have a calm emotional state as we roll through these changes. If we let these changes get us upset, then we're not going to make the choices that we need to make that are most effective for ourselves. And then next week, we will have not just that solar eclipse with the new moon on Saturday, but Venus is going to conjunct Neptune. Those are our two benefics getting together, making it very special and dreamy and intense. And Mercury is going to sextile Pluto like those other two planets already did. So again, we're talking about those power plays and the ways that we can empower ourselves, be a little rebellious to make the shifts happen that we want for ourselves. And on Monday, there's going to be a Mercury cazimi. That's when the sun and Mercury intersect in the sky. So that's going to be an intensification of communications, especially with Mercury retrograde in Aries. It's another thing where like the spotlight might be on where we want to pop off, the things that we'd like to say. And, you know, it may become appropriate or necessary at that time to really say what we need to say. There's a lot of to me, in the astrology right now, there's a lot of speaking truth to power. And to me, that's important. I've been trying to do that all of my life. I think some of us are just now waking up to the fact that, you know, we need to speak truth to power. We need to make our voices heard because, you know, everything isn't just hunky dory if we just sort of go along to get along necessarily.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that is the week of March 17th to March 23rd. How are you doing over there, Jill?
Hey, I'm living my best life, man. Transformation and change and surfing the craziness of life is, what Scorpios are all about, right?
Right, right. You're like, well, you know, welcome to the ocean. I've been surfing for a while.
I'm all like, oh, so things are going to get intense. Uh-huh. When are they not? Just kind of different levels of intense, right?
It is. You start at like level 1 intensity and then go up from there. There's no like not intense.
Either intense dreaminess, intense action, or intense down to business, but we're intense no matter what we're doing over here.
Man, that's intense. I'm always looking for other words besides intense. Like, you know, I'll describe conjunctions as being, you know, two energies combined and under pressure. So under pressure sounds good, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think intense is just its own word.
And
Powerful?
psychotic? I don't know.
Off the rails. Things
Hot.
are going off the rails.
I often say hot fucking mess. Like
Yes, exactly. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into the tarot portion of our video. And Jill is a seasoned tarot card reader, but she mostly reads for herself. So this is going to be a fun experiment for her to help me read for everybody else. But I trust your intuition, and I just like to, you know, I like to get more than one perspective on it because I feel like once I feel like I know what something says or means, I get so focused in on that I'm not looking at the other possibilities. And you know, all of these symbolic references can mean, you know, different things to different people in different times. That's what I love about it. Like all of these cards relate to something you're going to experience in your life, whether major or minor. And you know, that just depends on a person's individual experience. So more clues we can give people about what it means, I think the better. You
yeah,
ready? All
I'm
right.
ready. I'm born ready. Let's do it.
So my first card coming out, I was doing like what's coming in and what's going out, but we're in this Pisces to Aries shift right now. So I'm doing what's going out and then what's coming in, because Pisces is sort of like where things come out in the wash, and then Aries is where we get started. Right. So what is going out? What can we say bye-bye to? Well, what do we think about that? The 8 of Wands.
Ah, Going out with a bang, apparently.
Say that again.
Going out with a bang.
Going out with a bang. Yes.
Fiery
uh,
exit. Yeah.
in a hurry. In a hurry. I love this card when I see it because it speaks to me of that fiery sense of momentum and like, yeah, we can get this done. Let's go do it. An open road on a sunny day and a full tank of gas. Here I go. But on the going out, it's almost like, yeah, slow down. To me, it's like, yeah, let's not be in a hurry. We've got that stuff. Well, we've got the sun going out of Aries and into I'm going out of Pisces and into Aries, but we still got the ruler of Aries over there in Cancer going, I don't know if I can go straight forward. So I think, we're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of impatience and restlessness over the coming week personally, uh, and really start working on what it is that we can do in the meantime until we can take action, like in a more let's go sort of way.
Right.
How does that strike you?
A little more patience and a little less intensity.
And then here's the question: how do you not be intense?
I've never figured that out, so I'm the wrong
Yeah,
person to ask that.
right. I mean, my best approach to not being intense is just to be like, "Hi," and then duck into the next room.
Yes, hence my best hermit life up here. The mountain.
I can't be too much for anybody on anything if I'm just sitting here in my room alone.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I like that going out. I'm definitely Aries sun. I do get in a hurry. I want to get moving. I want to get started. And it's almost like once I see the possibilities and understand the plan, to me, there's no reason why it shouldn't be done already. But in here in the 3D realm, it takes time for things to unfold. uh, as much as I can see the outcome clearly with my eyes, it's still, like miles and miles away, and I still have to like take the first step to get there. So just like I want to give guidance to be a little patient with yourself, because there is definitely this urge to get moving forward, and then there's a little bit of a yeah, but so just be really patient with yourself, even if you think you can be completely through your plan or can be 100% done by the second day of Sun in Aries with your goals. Don't do that. Just like lay out the plans, Moon in Capricorn at the end of the week. Lay out the plans Capricorn style and take the steps. And that's really easier as a Sun in Aries. I'm going to say when you're feeling that Aries initiative, it's really easier to have a plan and to take initiative on the little steps, right? And not like I'm going to do the whole thing, because then you end up skipping steps and having to go back and do a bunch of work. Trust me, I know.
One of the biggest pieces of feedback I've received from my workplace is that I tend to jump to execute too quickly without, checking in with other people, having a solid plan. And I'm just kind of like, I just want to get it done, check it off my
Yep.
list. There's nothing better than checking it off my list.
You're like,
And
right,
yeah,
I know what to do. Tap, tap, done. And then it's done. And they're like, what did you do?
whatever I wanted.
Is there a problem? So much for pulling back on intensity. And then, so what's coming in is the next question. What can we see coming toward us? What can we open our arms to, try to embrace, or at least just be aware is in the offing, so that we're not dishonest with ourselves and living in the dreamland? Because listen, Neptune is really powerful right now in Pisces. So the dream is very, very strong. The illusions are very strong. We're all struggling with illusions. Okay. Don't fool yourself. Not just talking to you, Jill, talking to everybody. Don't fool yourself into thinking you have no illusions. One thing I've had to learn over the years is to just, okay, I don't know what I don't know, but I don't know it. So I have to be careful, not to pretend that I do know things that I don't. So what is coming in in with this fiery start with spring equinox and the sun moving on into Aries out of Pisces. Well, I'm not really crazy about that card on
Yeah,
first sight.
that's my
It's the
least
five.
favorite.
uh, but I'm going to go with what's positive about this card, and that is learning to ask for help, learning to cooperate with people, learning to interact with people in ways that are like, this is what we materially need, and I'm asking for assistance and getting it. And that's not necessarily just going up to somebody with your hand out like, please sir, do you have a dime? But really, I think I see in this a little bit of collaborating with people to not just create help for ourselves, but to create for help for our communities, and have a little more, what is that, mutual
Mutual
support.
aid. Oh,
Say that
mutual support.
again.
I say
Yes,
mutual
mutual aid.
aid. Like mutual aid is one of those things that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and one of the reasons why I've been working so hard to step out of my comfort zone and build community with people I don't know who are like-minded. Because the thing about that lovely card is that there's this balance, right? Sometimes you're the person who can give, and sometimes you're the person who needs to receive. And striking that balance and creating a culture of mutual aid, especially in these unprecedented times, is extremely important.
Yes, yes. We need each other, and we need to be able to rely on one another more than ever right now, as all of the institutions we normally rely on, the support that we normally rely on, are sort of up in the air, and the pieces are falling down around us. We need to be able to look to our neighbors and our work cohorts, our social cohorts, to help us support ourselves, and we need to be ready to help them support themselves as well. Like, just sharing what we can, even if it's just effort. If effort is all you have, okay, even efforts mean a lot. Actions speak so much louder than words. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of thoughts and prayers. I do definitely like hope good things for people, and I do definitely keep people in my heart when they are struggling, but I don't just keep them in my heart. you know
Yeah.
i I keep them in my messenger, and I keep talking to them, and I keep seeing what I can do to be of help to them as well.
Well, yeah, and up here in Red Hat territory, there are so few of us who identify as progressive or even leftist, and just being able to connect with each other and know that we're here and that we're in this together has been a huge,
Hmm.
huge, bonus for I
Yeah,
think
what a
everyone.
relief.
Yeah, it is a relief to know that we're not alone, and that
Hmm.
because there's a lot of hate out there right now, and
Yeah.
we need to band together and we need to support each other. And if that's financially, if that's spiritually, if it's just,
Hmm.
speaking sweetly to each other,
Hmm.
whatever it takes to get us all through this, I think that card is very indicative of that.
Yes. And then the other thing I want to say very quickly is that, oh, dang it, I lost it.
Oh,
It must not have been that important. It'll come back around. But yeah, important to ask for help, important to be prepared to help people, and important to just to engage in that community. Oh, right. This is what I wanted to say. This card is an indication also that people are going without things they actually need. Okay. So if you know somebody who's going without things they actually need, then we need to band together somehow and make sure they get what they need. If somebody's going without groceries, if somebody's going without being able to pay their rent or their electricity, if you see kids walking around without shoes, we got to make sure that they have shoes. All right. If people have a hierarchy of needs, and, we need to be looking at our neighbors and our fellow citizens and saying, I see this person doesn't have what they need, and I'm going to do something to help them if they'll allow me. But
yes.
generally, if there's something that you're really going without that you need to ask for help. And if you see somebody going without what they need, that you need to try to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's my soapbox.
I love it. It's a lovely book. Thank you.
Okay, so here we are coming to the end of our live video. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Jill, my bestie out west. I sure appreciate your insight and your input and your support in this. And I love seeing your beautiful face anytime, especially early in the morning on Sunday, because that means you really showed up for me. Thank you
All
so
blessed
much for
out
being
and everything.
here.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too. And I'm going to say goodbye to everybody else. We will be back here next Sunday. Not Jill. I don't think Jill wants to get up 2 Sundays in a row. But Jennifer and I will be back here next Sunday live at 10 a.m. And of course, I'll be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. That's when you can see me do our astrological forecasts just for the next couple of days. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next video. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.